forging revolutionary ideas because we're able to better understand the past.
What do we now?
We're trying to put those accidents behind us.
Well,
What is the best park building game right now? In particular, those that feature animals. Today I'm looking at Prehistoric Kingdom, Jurassic World Evolution 2 and Planet Zoo. But we aren't made of money, are we kids? So rather than bore you all to death with 3 individual video reviews, instead Reggie here is going to compare all of them across 7 categories, so you know what game to put on your birthday list. I've been bloody well nice as well, and I've time stamped every category for you so that you can hop about to your heart's content. So settle down people and let's get to it, shall we? Concept. Here we need to talk about why it is you even build a park in the first place. So Jurassic World Evolution 2 wins this one hands down, but that's purely because it has that bloody good film licence backing it up. If I'm honest though, the story here is pathetic and more akin to a tutorial than anything meaningful. But with that utter shit out the way, you do get to play Chaos Theory mode, which bases the maps around the parks through the movie franchise, and of course you get a good sandbox mode. The frustrating thing here for me though is that they missed an opportunity. It was wasted and it could and should have been so much better with the story. Throw in some rather nice cutscenes here and there, and they actually have a purpose as to why you are building these parks, of course, but it does just fall a little bit flat. However, the release of the Dominion content DLC should help resolve some of these issues, but let's wait and see, shall we? Now, Planet Zoo takes a rather different approach, which I actually quite like. Instead of a story, you create your own little franchise and effectively start building zoos all over the gaff. And as you meet more in-game achievements, you'll be provided with conservation points. Points mean prizes, kids, because it allows you to add better and more exotic animals to your other zoos. And so the story is more about your own franchise than anything else. And whilst a nice little concept, arguably it doesn't quite have that same pizzazz as Jurassic World Evolution. As for Prehistoric Kingdom, well, boys and girls, what can I say? There is all to talk about here. I mean, it has a tutorial and a sandbox mode, but being early access, there is nothing to write home about. If you want a purpose to your gameplay, then you better start having a solid imagination and doing some dinosaur roleplay. I tried that once with my Trouble and Strife. She was a T-Rex and I was the lamb. Too long didn't read. I ended up in hospital that night. Prehistoric Kingdom, it's just poor. It hasn't been baked in the oven. Don't get your hopes up for it. This is a third place one for sure. Graphics. So this is a very, very tough category to judge, in fact. And along with the graphics, I do have to talk about the art style and of course the optimizations too. Now at a push, I would probably place Planet Zoo here as the number 1, but only by a whisker. You see, Planet Zoo looks phenomenal, and with a proper park built with all the bells and whistles, it still runs really well. Perhaps the key here is that the zoo you build just looks and plays like a zoo, like you actually can imagine walking around it, having a good day out with the boys. Little details win me over, such as the amazing sunsets or the different textures for all the materials to hand, such as the various pathing options. Colours are vibrant. Art style works for a Tycoon game as well. It's arguably the most cartoony of all the games on the list, but it works to its advantages. You can actually see the way guests get excited at certain animals and they'll run over, or you'll be able to tell which little shit is going to vandal your park. In fact, neither Prehistoric Kingdom or Jurassic World Evolution guests look or feel alive compared to Planet Zoo, as they instead are more like a mannequin style approach. The only way I can explain it, they just look like fucking mannequins. I think it's an important distinction when the guests are the lifeblood of a park builder game. Graphically, there are just some moments in Planet Zoo that you think, fuck me, that looks really good. And if I'm honest, it's a feeling I've yet to have with the other 2 games. So Jurassic World Evolution 2 does come in a close second, and some of you might be scratching your head at that. Yes, arguably from a pure graphical standpoint, It looks better if you want to go into the real technicalities of it all, Digital Foundry style, but I have to judge other things along the way, people. So the rain looks great, it looks proper tropical and shit, and yes, the lands look lush too. Trees tower all over the place and the detail's very good, but my issue is the art style. Things just seem flat to me. Take away the dinosaurs and the rest of the park looks pretty drab. Like for me, the textures could be better on certain items, and it all looks like those little details that you get in Planet Zoo just don't exist here, like the little notice boards that explain each animal and whatnot. It feels just a concrete jungle, to be honest with you, and almost like the buildings were an afterthought to the lush little maps that they created. Prehistoric Kingdom is still a work in progress, but there is potential here. Now graphically it looks sharp, and certainly in the tutorial you do get some Planet Zoo vibes, which I think is a good thing. The skin textures of dinosaurs and the detailing of buildings and whatnot are very good. There is some nice lighting along the way, but as per my review, I cannot discuss graphics without discussing optimizations, or should I say, people, lack thereof. This game runs like a fucking pig, even on my little 3080 that Johnny stole off a lorry, and so for me this is what holds it back more than anything. I get it's an early access, but as alluded to in my mini review of this game, it's like trying to nurture a baby to health while it still resides in your dad's testicles. The fact of the matter is, this game needed a lot longer before even coming to early access, and yet they are still charging money for it. Sounds. Now again, this one is a tough one to judge, but for me this has to go to Jurassic World Evolution 2. Again, it's that bloody license that wins me over, and why shouldn't it? I think it's a powerful reason to invest in the game. I'm just a sucker for the music, and I once suggested to my significant other that we should actually have our first dance to the Jurassic World theme tune. She did not like that theory. Also, the sound effects of the dinosaurs are actually best here, and they do come across as rather frightening at times. Ambient sounds are only okay for me in general. The park doesn't feel alive as such, and the voice acting, Jesus Christ, the voice acting, people. It's like a shit episode of an Australian soap on a Tuesday afternoon. It's bloody terrible.
Not bad if I do say so myself. And I guess I am. But we're also going to need a response facility. Your response to this directive should be to get one built. Huh? You see what I did there, huh? Response. Never mind. Don't respond.
It blows my mind that they went with such a shit script, the license that they had to hand. But that aside, sound wise, it is a pretty sturdy little package. Now Planet Zoo, I actually think has a very catchy musical score, and it's one you'll gladly hum along to the local boozer with your mates. I also think Planet Zoo has far better ambient sounds than any of the other games listed here. The park will feel alive with the hustle and bustle as people flow through, and generally speaking, you'll be able to pick out little laughs of delight from the crowds or the shouts of protesters complaining that your frogs are clumped together in a hot little tank. In fact, this game is very sound effect driven, and I love that feedback, but it is also its Achilles heel in that after several hours gameplay, you start to wish for a bit more variety, and that is why Jurassic World Evolution 2 wins me over. Prehistoric Kingdom is pretty drab, to be honest. There isn't anything wrong with the sounds as such, but there isn't really anything right with it either. Nothing really stands out to you. It needs a lot of work here, but from early impressions, I think they're going to go down that Planet Zoo style of ambient effects, and I think that's actually going to benefit them in the long run. Animal dinosaurs. Now for many of you, this is the single most important factor, and ultimately will come down to your own personal preference. If you like dinosaurs, go for Jurassic World Evolution. If you like normal everyday animals, go for Planet Zoo. But if you don't give a shit for either and just want to know what's best, well, that's what I'm here for. And with that, I'm going to go for Planet Zoo. Shock horror, you all say. How can I turn down the fucking dinosaurs? Well, let me explain, you impatient cretins. Planet Zoo wins for me due to the sheer variety of what's on offer. and they still look and move fantastically well. A peacock looks and moves like a fucking peacock, as does a gator or a lion. The love and attention placed into the animals here is first class, and each has a proper unique feel about them. Likewise, in the base game there's around 74 species to select from, along with another 56 through DLC. The animals interact with enrichment items in the enclosures, and it looks and feels real. Honestly, there's very little critique here, and which is why I think it is the number one. Now, if you like dinosaurs, then just forget what all I said and go for Jurassic World Evolution. The Cockney Gamer Gang, we ain't gonna stop ya. No question, the game has the best animations of the three games, and the way they all socially interact with each other is also second to none. As we said though, the sounds are also great, and so the whole package is wonderful. The issue, however, that I have is that once you plonk the dinosaurs down in an enclosure, that's kind of it. I don't see them doing much else, unlike Planet Zoo, which has a whole raft of enrichment items, and overall I suspect there are less animations per dinosaur versus per animal than what you get in Planet Zoo. Now, the dinosaurs look fantastic, the best looking of the games without question, but controversially, if I asked you that unless you're a fucking dinosaur connoisseur like Richard Attenborough, don't a lot of the dinosaurs just look similar? Too bloody right they do. You get similar T-Rex looking dinosaurs or similar Velociraptor style dinosaurs. Now, you fanboys could say that's a dumb assessment to make because I don't understand dinosaurs, but I am saying this from someone who does not give a shit about a Stegosaurus from his elbow, and therefore I will go with the game that simply offers me the best variation and high quality, and that's why for the average player who's not a dinosaur fanatic, that's why Planet Zoo wins. Now, Prehistoric Kingdom's an interesting one. You see, it has dinosaurs like Jurassic World Evolution, and it will be interesting to see what gets added here, but you also get other things like woolly mammoths or saber-toothed tigers and whatnot, so it all has a bit of a Planet Zoo theme going on with it. In its current state, I cannot place Prehistoric Kingdom at the top. It's only got 20 species, but if this game progresses in the right way, then it might just top both of them, as in theory you are getting the best of both worlds. One area that does need working on, however, will be the animations and generally how they interact with the environments, but the jury is out on that one. It's still early days, so let's see what happens. Gameplay. Now, this is a big one, boys and girls, because the clue is in the title of this video: Park Management Games, and so the gameplay must represent this point. And before you Jurassic World Evolution fanboys get your knickers in a twist over the next minute or two, let me read to you what the developers say about their game on the Steam page. And they say, and I quote, "This bold new era in the Jurassic World Evolution game franchise builds upon the groundbreaking and immersive 2018 management simulation." To be clear here, kids, they themselves refer to this as a management simulator, not a fucking dinosaur viewing game. So let's break that down, shall we, and pull it apart, because I can tell you right off the bat, it's a load of bullshit. You see, Jurassic World Evolution 1 and indeed 2 have some very poor park management concepts. The issue, and the biggest issue in fact, is the total lack of customer feedback. I don't get it, boys and girls. My job is to create a park that guests like, and to do that I need to know what the fuck they are thinking. Is my pricing too high? Don't worry about it, because you don't need to know in this game. Is my decoration suitable? No worries, the developers don't care what you think. What about security? Am I at risk from little scallywags? Security? Don't be so bloody stupid. That's a concept that is not important in Jurassic World Evolution. In fact, you can't do fuck all here, because the guests just mull about like ghosts waiting to be eaten, and that's that. You can't employ staff to entertain guests or protect them from vandals, and generally speaking, you'll be at a loss at how the finances even work because the detail is so lacking. Sometimes you just sit on a wad of cash like you've done a bank job without actually entering a bloody bank. And to even get the dinosaurs, you have to go through the monotony of research, which is just a stupid game mechanic in a sandbox mode. Generally speaking, it's a micromanagement game of the dinosaurs, making sure they're fed and not fighting each other or getting bloody injured. But immersive management simulation, quote, don't make me laugh, people. And frankly, it pisses me off that they have the audacity to call it that themselves. Planet Zoo, however, is a management simulation game because your guests are everything to a successful park. And the way that works is by creating the very best enclosures and designs for your animals. That makes them happier. And guess what? Happy animals, they mean more donations from people. And you get more money, which means you can do more enclosures. And that's a feedback loop that works perfectly. If you have a shitty enclosure, then you're going to get protesters at your park. Don't build enough security cameras and you're going to have little scallywags causing havoc. You better remove them with the hiring of security guards. Oh dear, look, rubbish is everywhere. Better get some janitors on that or place some fucking bins down. What's that, you say? Entertainers to keep the guests happy. And look, I click on a guest and I can see what they are thinking, how rich or poor they are, have they spent enough money, time to place some ATMs down. And from that I can also see if I've decorated the park well enough for them to be happy and whether I've hidden other structures that are a necessity like electricity stations. And this is all on top of you managing your animals and keeping them happy whilst designing great enclosures. That, people, that right there is what an immersive management simulation is, not that sorry excuse for what is Jurassic World Evolution. And anybody who defends it is just moronic and clearly not seeing the bigger picture and is only seeing the, oh, but it has dinosaurs, aren't they great? Bugger off, will ya? As for Prehistoric Kingdom, honestly, there's nothing you can do here. It's a sandbox mode where guests do not engage with what you build, where finances make less sense than the crypto market and staff do not even exist. Your dinosaurs, likewise, can just roam about the place and suddenly become vegetarian and do not attack and eat the guests. They also seem unfazed by the massive beasts that reside about them. This really is an early access title, but don't forget they are charging 30 green notes for this, so fair is fair, people. We got to call them out for it. However, their roadmap does look strong and all the things noted can be fixed and implemented in time that hopefully we're going to see something that can compete to Planet Zoo. Creativity. Now for me, any park management game must give you the tools to complete the job. Like that time Johnny showed up with a screwdriver to crack a safe. I nearly lost a bloody plot with him. Anyway, a park management game must allow for the thoughts in your brain to go on what you see on screen. So let me tell you what comes in third place, shall I? Bloody Jurassic World Evolution, that's what. You might think I have it in for Jurassic World Evolution at this point. I don't. There are many good things I say about it too. But what bothers me so much about Jurassic World Evolution is how clearly they've had their hands tied on what they can and can't do. And that sadly does translate over into the creativity. All buildings look average at best and reminds me of a British high street in the height of a recession. And I can assure you, all of the parks on YouTube videos look similar in content, even from the very best content creators out there who are able to push the boundaries. Why is that, you ask? Well, that's simply down to the tools at your disposal. Pathing is nonsense in that you are restricted where you can and can't go on maps. The paths don't even allow simple little bridges to go over little bits of water or allow you to create little tunnels to bypass hills. In essence, the pathing is as flat as a pancake. You can't decorate the park with things like lighting, benches or bins, and therefore it feels very much like you are not catering for your guests either, which is a big issue. Enclosures look samey, and whilst there are some massive improvements from Jurassic World Evolution 1, it still feels like Universal Studios are dictating what they can and what they can't do because it has to match and suit the style of the movie franchise. And it's a real shame for me because it's the biggest criticism and it's the one that I crave the most control over in a park, and therefore it cements this idea that this really is just a dinosaur observation game than anything else. Compare that to Planet Zoo. I mean, where do you even start? After you've watched my video and hit subscribe because you love the Cockney Gamer Gang, go search Amazing Jurassic World World Evolution Park and then search Amazing Planet Zoo Park, and you see the difference in creativity and personality of what the content creators make. Now, full disclosure, the video that you're seeing here, I actually went onto the Steam Workshop and I actually downloaded some maps that other content creators have created because I just wanted to showcase what is possible. My apologies to those content creators, I ain't got your names. I am not going to take the credit for this luscious work that you are seeing on screen right now. I'll try and dig it out in the comments for you, but honestly, it's incredible the things that you can build, and it's really only down to your own imagination, which is a fascinating concept given that this is the same freaking developer, i.e. Frontier Games, as what built and made Jurassic World Evolution. You want to build a viewing platform in your own unique style? No problem. Want to create a cave where polar bears exist? No issue at all. Want to build an enclosure for a freaking mountain? Why, of course you bloody can. And better still is if you can't be asked to make shit, as I just explained, you can just go onto the workshop and download the blueprints for literally hundreds upon hundreds of designs that others have made for you. Until you play the game, it's hard to quantify just what you can do from a creative standpoint, and the tools provided are the reason that this is so powerful. Now, Prehistoric Kingdom I am placing in second place here, simply because it's gunning for what Planet Zoo has already achieved. I too was able to make quick and personalised enclosures in no time at all. Likewise, the modular building aspect takes a huge page from Planet Zoo, in that it gives you, the player, the ability to create what you like and how you like. Even at this early access stage, there is a lot to play around with here, and already people have made some incredible parks, which is already getting close to Planet Zoo in terms of the customization potential. As more items get created and released, I think Prehistoric Kingdom might just come out on top, assuming it delivers on the roadmap. Future potential. Now, Prehistoric Kingdom is actually coming out on top here, simply because it has the ability to mash together Planet Zoo and Jurassic World Evolution if it so desires. By having both extinct animals and dinosaurs is genius, as I feel it's like a zoo but also a movie spectacular. Not to mention its modular buildings and level design that enables that creativity we just spoke about. There really is an open-ended book on this one, people, because they can pick the best of Jurassic World Evolution and Planet Zoo and implement it into their style. The issue with all the early access titles, of course, is how far do they live up to the expectations on their roadmap. If they deliver on it, this might become the best game of the bunch, so watch this space. After that, I placed Planet Zoo and Jurassic World Evolution as a tie, simply because Jurassic World Evolution has the movie franchise, but realistically can only add a few more dinosaurs versus anything game changing, as not to offend the bloody movie directors. God forbid if they were to actually work on the park management aspects. On the flip side, Planet Zoo has already had a load of DLC, and whilst good, you do wonder where it goes from here, other than just doing something radical like create a main story, but I really can't see that happening. It can of course release more themed packs, I guess, or have a true underwater aquatic DLC, but it feels like we are coming to the end of what is truly possible here. So the summary is simple really, people. If you like dinosaurs, then go for bloody Jurassic World Evolution, I ain't stopping you, but if you just want the best park management game of the bunch, go for Planet Zoo, simply because it delivers on the creativity, the park management simulation, and general beautiful design. There is an actual game here, whereas Jurassic World Evolution 1 and 2, they just feel more like an observation game, but reality bites when you really go through the substance of the games. Prehistoric Kingdom may have been treated harshly today, hands up, I ain't going to deny that, but they are charging money, and I want to make sure that people know what it is that they're getting themselves into. But arguably it places itself between the two other games, so potentially people, this is the dark horse going forward. But right now in its current state, it's pretty dog shit, so I'd steer clear of it until at least the big issues are sorted. Anyway, love to you all, hope you found it useful, speak to you soon.